Hello everyone! Today we're making Crab Rangoons, fried wontons filled with cream cheese and crab. One of the truest expressions of culinary excellence. This amazingly delicious American Chinese restaurant staple actually didn't start in an American Chinese restaurant. The dish was invented in a Polynesian-themed restaurant and bar chain called Trader Vic's during the tiki craze of the 50s. The same place that invented the Mai Tai, as well as was the inspiration for Trader Joe's. They were so well received that they started popping up in American Asian-style restaurants across the country, as everyone wanted to get on the action. And for good reason. They're pretty easy to make, and they're incredible. Now, let's get into it. So we'll need wonton wrappers. White or yellow, both work fine. In an authentic wonton wrapper, the yellow ones are that way because they have egg yolk and alkaline water mixed in them, so they have a slightly chewier texture and a unique taste, while the white wrappers are a little bit more delicate and neutral. It's good to check the ingredients list though, because sometimes they just use food coloring. We'll also need crab. Originally they were made using real crab meat, but more commonly they're made using surimi, or imitation crab meat, since real crab meat can be a bit expensive. I like using a mix of surimi and canned crab meat for a happy middle ground. We'll just slice up the surimi into small pieces, and it'll break apart on its own as we mix it. You can see how the surimi is almost like string cheese made out of fish. It has all these little strands all stuck together. Scallions will give us some great color and flavor, so we'll just slice these as finely as possible and add those to the mix. I like using a tiny bit of ginger, grated very finely. This is optional, but I like the flavor it brings to the party. It really lightens things up. We'll also need cream cheese, preferably Philadelphia style. They really do make the best cream cheese. And last but not least, our seasonings, as listed here. Making the filling couldn't be easier. We're just going to mix our cream cheese until it's softened, then we'll fold our ingredients into it. Make sure to mix the cream cheese quite a bit. It's really thick and won't want to blend very well with our other ingredients unless we've worked it until it's a bit smoother. We'll go in with our crab, surimi, green onions, and all of our seasonings. Then give that a good mixing. The surimi and crab are going to break up into tiny pieces as we mix it, which is what we want, so there's an even flavor distribution throughout our filling. We want every rangoon to taste the same, so we need to make sure that there's no big chunks of one ingredient or pockets of seasonings. That should be good to go. This is enough filling for about 40 wontons, but if you have extra filling, it makes an amazing spread for a bagel or just on crackers. Now, when working with wonton wrappers, what you're going to want to do is set them out like so, and then get yourself a little bowl of water. The water is what we're going to use to seal them shut. Take note if there's a side with more of this white starch on them. You want the starchy side facing up, since it'll mix with our water to make a sort of glue. Wontons dry out pretty quickly, so it's good not to set out too many at a time. I think 9 is a good number. And then we'll place about a tablespoon of our filling in the center of each wonton. We don't want to overfill these because it'll make them difficult to seal up and they'll run the risk of bursting open when we fry them. This is a little bit of a tedious process, but work clean and take your time and they'll come out great. Once you get into a flow of making them, you'll churn them out pretty quickly. It'll all be worth it when you bite into one of these things. Now, let's seal up our rangoon. You don't have to pick them up like this to make them, you can set them right on your surface. I'm just going to, so you can see closer how to do the process. We're going to wet the sides of our wonton. That's going to make the white starch into a glue to hold them together. Then we'll just start bringing our corners in and pinching them together. Try to make them nice and tight, keeping the wonton tight to the filling, pushing out any air pockets. This is the most common way to fold crab rangoons, into these little 4-sided pyramids. But there's a variety of shapes that you could make, like mini spring rolls or little money bags. I personally think the texture of this way is hard to beat. The 4 little flanges we've made get super crispy when we fry them. Go back and squeeze all your connections real nice and tight, and there you go, a crab rangoon. And one more time for good measure. This is the way I typically make them, with them sitting right on the work surface. So again, we'll bring these 2 corners together and pinch them sealed. Then we'll do it again with this corner, and we'll bring in that final corner. Easy peasy. Now you know this simple wonton fold. You know, there's a lot of things that you could put inside these. Tuna filling, pork, prawn, a mixture of both, even sweet fillings like marshmallow or chocolate. So have fun with it. But today is about Crab Rangoon, so let's talk frying. So frying might seem a bit intimidating, but it's really not that bad. You'll need a pot to fry in, something preferably with taller sides. This one comes with a thermometer built in, which is really nifty, as well as a little resting rack, but if you're just using a normal pot, make sure you get yourself a normal thermometer, and a tray and rack to set your finished rangoons on. Temperature control is the name of the game when it comes to frying, so having a thermometer and constantly checking your oil temperature to make sure it's consistent is crucial. As for oil, I'm using rice bran oil, that's why it looks a little darker than you'd expect, but vegetable, peanut, corn, canola, they're all perfectly fine oils for deep frying. We're going to be frying at 176 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit, so let's bring our oil up to that point. Alright, we've reached our temperature and now it's time to fry. These are only going to need about 3 or 4 minutes each. We can go entirely off visuals here. All we're trying to do is get the wonton wrapper nice and crispy. Whenever you're adding anything to hot oil when you're deep frying, try not to drop them in from high up. That can cause splashing, which is not only messy, but it could cause a pretty nasty burn. Hot oil is no laughing matter. The better way to do this is to bring whatever you're frying right to the surface of the oil and gently let it sink into the oil. That way, nothing will splash up and burn you or cause a mess. Remember to fry these in smaller batches. Adding too much at a time to your oil can cause the temperature to drastically drop, and that could result in sad, soggy wontons. Nobody wants that. While they're frying, it's good to give everything a nudge once in a while, so they don't stick together. These are looking great. They're starting to bubble up and get really nice and crispy around the edges, so I think they're ready. Let's get them out of the oil, gently shaking off any excess, then placing them on this wire rack and tray. Using a wire rack is a big play when deep frying. It allows any excess oil to drip off and away from whatever you're frying, in this case our rangoons, as well as allowing some airflow around it to keep it dry. If we were using a paper towel or something absorbent like that, the oil would be in constant contact with our rangoon or whatever we were frying, causing it to reabsorb that oil and become greasy. Fried food gets a bad reputation of being overly greasy and oily, but much of that oil is due to poor technique, poor oil quality, and poor temperature control. But these ones? Well, they're not even oily to the touch. Alright, so here are our crab rangoons. Look at them, golden and delicious. All they need is a dip in this sweet chili and they're all set. You can find the recipe for the sauce in the description. It's really just sweet chili with a little soy, a little rice vinegar, and some other ingredients to church it up a little from its bottled state. These really are something special. The combination of extremely crispy wonton and super creamy cream cheese is a textural home run, and that sweet crab, imitation or not, it's hard to beat. If you made these as an appetizer for your next get-together, you would be deemed an absolute legend, without a doubt. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I know I enjoyed making it, because I have crab rangoons. If you want to help me make more videos like this, liking and subscribing really does go a long way. Thanks to everyone for their continued support, and as always, thank you for watching.